Video games might be more well known to mainstream audiences as first-person shooters or mindless beat-em-ups, but there are plenty of other gaming experiences to be had for those who go looking for them. Some allow players to experience what it is like to live as a thief, constantly living in the shadows and snatching what doesn't rightly belong to them. Even in this bracket though, there are several ways thievery in games can be experienced. Whether it be through an open world as a side note or the main focus, these are some of the most noteworthy games that let you play as a thief. Uncharted's Nathan Drake might not be a thief in the traditional sense of the word, but the wisecracking explorer has committed his fair share of questionable deeds throughout the series. Billed as a treasure hunter in the same vein as Lara Croft, Nate's background and childhood reveal how he fell in with Sully, something of a thief crossed with a treasure hunter himself. While Nate is much nobler than the morally skewed individuals he finds himself mixed up with on occasion, he does still end up taking what doesn't belong to him and stealing from others frequently. The world of the Elder Scrolls is well known for its many factions and allowing players to join whichever one strikes their fancy. One of the best is the Thieves Guild, a shadowy organization built around professional theft for hire on an organized basis. Evian's incarnation is particularly enjoyable, even amongst the other entries in the series, as it involves encountering the fabled master thief known as the Grey Fox, after which the hero of Catch takes on the title for themselves. Furthermore, the final theft of the questline sees the main character steal an actual Elder Scroll from its incredibly well-guarded hiding place in the Imperial City. It's a conclusion to an Elder Scrolls faction storyline that will not soon be forgotten. A few games offer a player such freedom of action as Red Dead Redemption 2. And of course the player is able to play the good guy even though they are a member of an outlaw gang. Arthur Morgan doesn't need to be a bad guy, he can be played as a grey man quite well. But let's face it, the real fun in Red Dead Redemption 2 comes from being a completely immoral monster. When it comes to thievery in RDR2, the sky is the limit from being a simple pickpocket, through robbing trains and stagecoaches to pulling off a bank heist. The tagline of this game should have been meet lots of folks from the Old West, then rob and murder them for sure. The second of two Assassin's Creed games on this list is Black Flag. Playing as a pirate is synonymous with theft, despite the fact this game doesn't rely on stealth and cunning to commit crimes as previous entries on the list have. Playing as Edward Keyway, who is considered a pirate assassin, the player is free to rob and steal as much as they wish. Theft involves ship-to-ship pirate battles and also land-based missions that do require at least some level of stealthiness to complete. And of course, all of this action takes place on a stunning open-world map, as one would expect from a game from the Assassin's Creed franchise. Dishonored 2 is a bit of an odd game at times. Why? This is a stealth game set in a steampunk open-world map that mixes in supernatural powers as well. This can be somewhat of a challenge for players to come to grips with and requires a significant level of suspension of disbelief to look past. That being said, it is well worth taking the effort to try and overlook the game's odd premise, as the gameplay is great. Playing as one of two protagonists, the player uses theft and stealth to complete missions and progress in the game. The theft is easier in the early stages of the game, and in the later stages most businesses have hired guards the player will need to sneak past to get inside. At the time of writing, Thief Simulator was entirely unique. No other game simulates life as a career criminal as closely. Thief Simulator is about much more than just theft. Each robbery needs to be planned in full before execution. This means gathering intel, checking out the area around a target on the open world map and avoiding the police at all costs. Each location the player targets for a heist, be this a home or a business, has its own puzzles that need to be solved to pull off the robbery. And of course the puzzle must be solved without triggering any alarms or being spotted and the police start closing in. Set in the city of London during the Victorian era, Assassin's Creed Syndicate only just makes this list and is in the bottom place. Why? Even though there are options for committing a theft in the game, such as pickpocketing, it is not a main gameplay loop as crime is in other entries on this list. However, Assassin's Creed Syndicate made this list because when the player does have an opportunity to commit a theft in this game, the stealth mechanics come into play, and this is exceptionally well implemented by the developers. And of course the open world map based on Victorian London is exquisite in every detail. It's all in the title really. Thief is a stealth game that sees players take control of Garrett, a master thief in a dark fantasy, steampunk-inspired city, aptly and simply named the city. Similar to the Dishonored games, Thief allows the use of both lethal and non-lethal ways of dealing with enemies as Garrett makes his way to his final destination. Additionally, each level contains many branching paths that encourage replayability. The story was criticized by some for several reasons, but the game itself is highly enjoyable for those simply looking for stealth elements and the opportunity to plunder what riches its world has to offer. Oblivion's Thieves Guild might take the cake in terms of memorability, but Skyrim's return to everyone's favourite gang of charlatans is mighty impressive. Much like the other factions returning from previous installments, the Thieves Guild has come on hard times and is but a shadow of its former self. The Dragonborn is tasked with pulling off a few minor jobs before things get really interesting, and the story kicks into overdrive very quickly. The finale might not be anything as impressive as the theft of an Elder Scroll, but it does stand on its own merits, and Skyrim's stealth mechanics remain some of the best. It's easy to see how this entry in the series took a little inspiration from Payday. The Grand Theft Auto series shows the criminal underworld better than most, ranging from petty vehicle theft to full-on organized crime a la The Godfather. In Grand Theft Auto 5, there is a large emphasis on the new heist mechanic. In order to make enough money to pay off whichever dangerous criminal they owe money to at that point in the story, Michael, Trevor and Franklin all end up taking part in a string of bank robberies and jewelry store burglaries. It's an exciting new aspect to the series and one that allows players to earn large amounts of cash all at once, even if most of it goes towards paying off a few debts first. The Payday series focuses less on subtle, stealthy theft and more on unapologetic, explosive bank robbery. In Payday 2, players take control of a member of the titular Payday gang as they orchestrate a string of heists in Washington, D.C. There is a stealth element to the game that can be used to an extent, but several violent firefights will inevitably break out as a result of heists gone wrong. The story is also surprisingly engaging and extensive, despite not appearing so from the outside. With a variety of heist approaches, equipment and aesthetic customization options, Payday 2 cements itself as a great theft-centric game. Fans of the Sly Cooper series will know the protagonist well enough. An anthropomorphic raccoon who excels as a master thief tends to leave a lasting impression. His two companions, Bentley and Murray, are also particularly memorable. Amusingly, the antagonistic Inspector Carmelita Fox doubles as Sly's love interest. The series primarily revolves around stealth-based platforming and takes place in an alternate version of our world that sees everyday animals existing as people. While the premise sounds simple enough, there are many fantasy elements throughout the series, and the developers managed to mingle in some genuine moments with the general absurdity. It's a series fans of stealth games won't want to sleep on.